You sitting around and play on your smartphone or maybe your computer. This device became a part of our life because it can do many things, solving complex tasks, gathering store information with ease, and many more. It's like a miracle. But how it is work? How can this mechanical thing understand what we want? Today, we're going to talk about the basic of computer system. I heard you saying, what is computer system? To understand that, we need to understand what is computer and what is system. Computer is from the word compute, closely meaning to determine, calculate, and process. So, computer is a device that used to process and store data. Meanwhile, the system is stand for a set of things that working together as part of itself to achieve their goal. Your digestive system, for instance, is a combination of digestive organ working together to digest your food. Computer system is to work the same way too. So, we can conclude that computer system are all of the components of the computer itself that working together to process and manage data. But what are these components and what exactly they do to achieve their goal? In general, this component can be divided into three categories. These include hardware, software, and data. Speaking of data, let's talk about that first. Data is the information that computer can manipulate and process. Data can be in form of text, image, video, document, and etc. So imagine the computer is a chef in the kitchen, and that data is a raw ingredient. When there is no ingredient, chefs have nothing to cook. They became useless. Same like a computer without data. But hold on just a minute. What is the difference between data and information? Well, the data only can understand and use by the computer. Meanwhile, information can understand and use by everybody except for the computer. Why, you ask? That because we cannot understand the computer language and vice versa. Computer cannot understand our language. Like I said earlier, that data is like raw ingredient. It's a raw information. It needs to be processed first to be fully functional. So how do the computer dealing with this problem? Stick around because we will explain that in hardware. For short, hardware can refer to physical component of the computer. Basically, any part of the computer that you can physically see and touch is a hardware. This component is act like a body of the computer. It keeps things work the way it should. There are many components in here, but I want to focus on something that relates to data and information earlier. So, in order to computer to achieve and share data from and to the user is through this long process. And all of this is happening in hardware. So, first, computer will receive information from outside via input unit. This like a sense of the computer itself. Camera as eyes, microphone as ear, and keyboard to understand the letters. When input unit is triggered by the user, they will send the signal to computer in form of language that only computer will understand. In this case, binary. That signal will directly send into the central processing unit or CPU. This CPU is act like a brain of the computer itself because here where all the complex calculations are. The CPU handle all the instructions they receive from the various hardware component and also from the software application running in the computer system. Their job to execute computer programs so computer can do whatever you want. But CPU cannot work alone. In fact, CPU is bad at remembering. Maybe it's great at handling text and processing data, but it will always forget about what text they're doing or data it processes. So to deal with that, it needs some teammate that good at store data. Enter memory unit or hierarchy of memory. This unit is designed to store and keep the data and program instruction. There are many different types of this memory unit, including one inside the CPU itself. But today I will only talk about the two of these that most of us are familiar with. First of all, there is RAM or random access memory. This thing is working like a short-term memory of computer. When you open application or playing games, the CPU is doing some complex calculation on data so computer can do whatever you want. However, the CPU cannot store that data, at least not in the large quantities. So RAM in here is help CPU to store the data that later processed by the CPU. That's why RAM need to be fast at collecting data. Unfortunately, those data are not last long though. But hey, it helps CPU on its stack, so when those data doesn't need it anymore, RAM will automatically just snap it. Or at least 2 times, because snap is only work in half actually. If you're looking for the permanent storage, we have hard disk or disk drive. If RAM is a short-term memory, then disk drive is a long-term memory. It keeps the data for a long time even though the power of computer is already turned off. But the disk drive is more slow than the RAM when it comes to accessing data. Okay, we spent a lot of time on this processing data thing, but now the question. We already talked about the input unit that can be used to giving information so the computer can receive it. But how about the otherwise? Computer giving us the information. This is called output unit, the reverse of input unit. It can turn the data to information that we can receive. If the data is sound, the unit will be the speaker. If an image or a video, it uses the monitor. If you want a real document, well, printer. And that is the hardware. But what about the last component? Software is a non-physical thing on computer. It cannot be seen or touched. However, they exist and they are part of the system. They are like inside of the computer itself. Software main function is to giving instruction that guide the hardware to perform the specific task. In short, they are telling hardware to do what to do. Software can be divided into three categories. First is application software, also known as program app. That is the software that used directly by the user. For example, PowerPoint that used to presentation, Word and Excel to managing document, and any kind of video game or video editor also included. Heck, even application that I use to animating this is also a program app called the Imator. The second category is the system software. This is a special software that used by the computer itself to manage and operate the system. Speaking of operate, the third category is operating system, or for short, the OS. This is like some sort of bridge from the previous two. Basically, they provide an interface from the user to interact with the system. Example of this, maybe all of you are familiar with Windows, Linux, iOS, Android, etc. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our lecture about the basic of computer system. So, what do you think? Do you found this video useful? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching and sincerely, Abiyyu.